Hello and welcome to Furo Racing's World Series. It's round 8 in Austria of Season 6 that we're just about getting ready for. I'm Furo Racing DP, I'll be in the commentary box, and I'm also otherwise known as Dave Lays in Beds, and I'm joined in the commentary box by my good friend Furo Racing RI, otherwise known as Ray Charles Brooks. How are you this evening, Ray?
I'm very well. How's yourself?
I'm alright. We've already had this conversation for the last half hour, so it's a bit weird having it again. Yeah, not doing too bad. Belly's feeling a bit dodgy today, so if I have to just randomly disappear at any point, I do apologise. Hopefully won't have to do that though. Okay, a couple of little bits of information for the viewers. We do have 2 reserve drivers in this evening. It's Hammer time. He's in the Killer Acorn Team Mercedes, in as a reserve for Acorn 95. We also have Azamor 590 in as a reserve for Night Farth Mana Marussia, but unfortunately Farthba has not been able to get online at the moment, so Azza is the only driver for those this evening. And for anyone that doesn't know, Azamor was a World Series driver last season until other circumstances meant he didn't have the time to race. Now, I am just quickly going to go through the result from last week's race, because there were quite a few changes from the final result on the day. I think Hindle took victory on the day, but Hindle, Richie Davey and Casely all ended up with quite big penalties after the race for exceeding track limits, so they dropped down the order a little bit. It meant that Dave the Harp took victory in Canada, so he scores the 25 points, and in second place was Rickster, only 0.215 of a second behind him. Hybrid Nuke took third place, and then Hindle was fourth, Richie Davey fifth, Casely sixth, from a Racing GP seventh, and 69 finished eighth, and the rest of the drivers did not finish, and unfortunately Andy Russell received a disqualification for exceeding track limit. Driver of the day went to Dave the Harp, who was the only driver to get to the end without any penalties, and it paid off for him. So he took the victory and driver of the day. And Killer Acorn Mercedes took team of the day, a slightly odd one. One driver not making it to the end of the race, but the other driver taking maximum points for the team. In the driver's standings, Hindle is still leading the way on 129 points. Hybrid Nuke, his teammate, is 10 points behind him. Then we've got Furo Racing GP on 88, Dave the Harp on 65, Acorn 95 on 43, Richie Davey on 42, Rickster on 36, Casely on 23, Adam 4600 on 21, Andy Russell on 18, Charlie on 12, and 69 on 11, and Farthba on 3. In the constructors' standings, we have Victoria's Secret Williams Racing leading the way on 248 points, followed by Killer Acorn Mercedes on 138, closely followed by Midlands Madness Ferrari on 119, McCharles McLaren Honda on 68, Godolphin Sauber on 60, Underdog Racing Red Bull on 32, and Night Farth Mana Marussia on 13 points. Okay, I think it's time to send the drivers over to the racetrack. We are heading over to the Red Bull Ring in Austria for round 8 of the Furo Racing World Series. We've got a short qualifying session of 18 minutes, a 50% race distance. Damage is on full, the weather is on dynamic, the car performance is equal, and me and Ray are probably going to hope it's going to rain a little bit. Or are you hoping for a dry one this week, Ray?
I like it dry and wet. What's your odds for rain?
Oh, I reckon it's got to be about 75% chance of rain, I think. I've got a feeling it'll be wet for qualifying, wet at the start of the race, and then it will dry up a little bit. But it's time then for the Furo Racing World Series Round 8 in Austria. Are we going to have a wet session? Are we going to have a dry session? It's a wet session. Now, I'm not surprised it's wet here. And usually we say we won't talk over Crofty, but he's talking very quiet. I'm not surprised it's wet here. Literally every dynamic session I've been involved in while practicing for the World Championship race last night had wet weather. So I am really not surprised that we've got wet weather here. Okay, I think pretty much, Ray, we can guarantee that most of the drivers will be sat in that pit lane now, shaking their head, wondering, okay, what the hell am I going to do now?
Definitely. Mike says showers possible later after a cloudy start. It's
yeah, it's. I think there might be a bit of a delay on the weather forecast there, because mine also says cloudy start with potential for showers later. Well, if this is a cloudy start, then I don't really want to know what it's going to be like when it starts showering later. But all the drivers can do is perhaps make a couple of final tweaks to their setup and then head out onto track. And we've got Andy Russell, who is heading out onto track. He's not the first on track, but he is on at least the full wet tyre. Now, this track in the dry can be a little bit of a tricky one. In the wet, it can be an absolute nightmare. Now, before the race, myself and Ray, we were both in the presser's pig pen, trying to have a conversation with a few of the drivers, get a few of their pre-race comments. And I do know that there was a couple of drivers that really did not want wet weather today. I'll just try and go back through some of my notes here. It's Hammer Time, who's in as a reserve driver. When I asked him what was his thoughts on today's race, he says, if I nail my qualifying lap, I think I can get pole position, which would be great. Not looking forward to the wet if it rains, because I know the Williams are using traction control and I'm not. So there's one driver already who's going to be thinking, oh, brilliant, absolutely not what I wanted. Now, Andy Russell, we're watching at the moment. I asked him for pre-race comments, and I think he's been told not to say anything because he just looked at me, smiled and walked away. So let's see what he can do on a qualifying lap. Ray, you can let us know who you are watching there and what their pre-race comments were before the event.
I'm watching Richie Davies on his timed lap, and he said he doesn't want to lose free wings on free pit exits, so the pit exit hasn't been kind to him. That
is true. The pit exit here, it's not a really easy one. It's very easy to lose your front wing when you're trying to make that right hand turn. So for Richie, he's hoping that he's going to be keeping front wings on the car. But this is the race, I think, where last season we had a wet start to the race, and it was the one where he ended up changing tyres, I think 4 different compound of tyres, or 3 different compounds of tyres in 4 laps. But anyway, talking about last season, Ray, last season's qualifying, I believe, was in slightly damp conditions. I believe you've got what the lap time was from qualifying last season.
Yeah, it was 1:13.169 on Inters, and I forgot who done it.
I think it was Hindle that got pole position last season. So a 1:13.6 was it on intermediate tyres, as Andy Russell goes second place at the moment, and his lap time is a 1:16.4. Yeah, Richie is first. We've got quite a few drivers on out laps at the moment. Interestingly though, Casely is on the intermediate tyre, not the full wet tyre. Let's have a look at what tyre Richie Davies on. Richie Davies is on the full wet tyre. Now, Adam 4600, quite a few drivers on out laps. Hybrid Nuke is sat in the garage though. Hindle also sat in the garage. It's Hammer Time. He's just coming through the final couple of corners. He's on full wet tyres. I've got a feeling a few of the drivers are perhaps just sitting there to see in the pits to see whether the circuit is going to dry up a little bit, as It's Hammer Time goes first with a 1:16.1. Now, a good full wet tyre time around this circuit is sort of low 15s with a good intermediate tyre lap time around about the mid to low 12s. So while they're on the full wet tyre, into the 15s is where they'd be looking to try and get. It's Hammer Time has now backed out of this lap, so he's not on another flyer. Charlie, he's been through Sector 1, currently in 10th place on his full wet tyre, an 18.0 Sector 1. Now, let's see. I'm trying to remember whether Charlie actually spoke to us. I don't think Charlie spoke to us in the pig pen, did he, Ray? He didn't want to talk to us.
No, I'm sure he didn't. He just looked at us, stuck his nose up and swaggered off. I
thought it was his fingers he stuck up at us. Either that or he was saying you've got a bogey hanging from your nose. Either way, he's coming through. He's just come through Sector 2 now. He's into the final sector, and I've got a feeling, you know, he may have just... apologies, Ray has left the chat party and also the lobby. That's not good. Okay, so we'll carry on for a moment. So Charlie goes 1:17.575. Let's see who else we've got on a flying lap. Dave the Harp coming around the penultimate corner now and into the final corner. 17.8 Sector 1, 34.4 Sector 2. Let's see what his lap time will be. It's second place, a 1:16.056. Now, something I do want to have a quick look at is the tyre delta, see whether the circuit is going to be drying up at all, whether the intermediate tyres are going to be the tyre of choice. Yes, it's nearly time for the intermediate tyre. We may even get down to dries by the end of the session. So for those drivers who have effectively just sat in the pit lane waiting for the track to dry up, it might not be that bad of a decision. See if we can find someone that might be on the intermediate tyre still. Casely is. It sounds like he's got a bit of a problem with that Ferrari engine, and I believe, Ray, you have rejoined us in the commentary box.
Yeah, it said I had signed in another PlayStation.
Another PlayStation?
Yeah, my account had been signed on to another PlayStation and it kicked me out of this one.
Oh dear, that's a bit odd. I have to get checked on that one. See if you can rejoin the lobby if you can, Ray, and we'll get you in for the rest of the qualifying session and the race. As Casely goes 5th on his intermediate tyres. For a Racing GP, he's out there also on the intermediate tyres. It should just about be time for the intermediate tyre now. So we'll see if what this lap's going to be like. 17.5 Sector 1 might not be too bad. It's a 14.971, so that's put in provisional pole position, but he'll want to knock a little bit of time off that. Let's see if he improves through Sector 1. 17.5 to beat. Well, it almost sounds like he may have... oh, he's on 17.4. I was going to say, almost sounds like he's cruising up towards turn 2, but he has improved on his sector time. DRS probably not available at the moment, but with 10 minutes to go, there is a chance that this circuit could dry up enough for a dry set of tyres. Now, I think he had a 34.0 sector 2, so we'll be looking to improve on that one by a good, I reckon, half a second. And tricky turn 5, left-hander, car not wanting to turn in for him really, but pushing it around the corner with the rear. It's a 33.9, so he is up again. Oh, a bit of a wiggle on the exit. And now heading up to the penultimate corner as Farfbert does manage to join us, as does Ray. Now the final two corners for a Racing GP car trying to step out sideways. Get it turned in, always ran a little bit wide. Had to do an ETL lift. And across the line, he might not improve his lap time. He's now second as a 14.4. Casely has gone and put a 14.3 in. Hybrid Nuke still sat in the pit lane. And Hindle is now on a lap. He's done his out lap and he's done a 17.2 sector 1. Are you back at the track with us, Ray?
It's just loading.
Okay, no problem. So what can Hindle do then through sector 2? Obviously he hasn't had any chance to warm up onto the intermediate tyre. For those drivers that were out on the full wets, they've got an idea what the track was like. May help them in sector, well, in the intermediates, but sector 2 for Hindle, a 33.1. That's a nice healthy chunk of lap time there. What about the final couple of corners? Guess it turned in quite nicely. And again for the final corner, now hard on the power, but as one of the drivers mentioned in his pre-race comments, a bit of traction control on here. It's a 12.9, he says he's 15th, it must have been an invalidated lap. So he'll be looking to actually try and get his banker lap in now then. He would not want to be starting in 15th place. See if he improves on sector 1, a 17.0. It's not too bad in these intermediate conditions. Now, Ray, when it came to Hindle, what was it he had to say when we had a chat with him a little earlier on?
2 seconds, I think my notes. Hindle, what was you there? Gutted about last week's result, so you can be sure I'll be going all out, to get victory. Me and Hybrid very similar on pace.
Well, it's interesting you mention about Hybrid. What was it that Hybrid Noog had to say?
Hybrid, every time you ask me, I've been crashed out before the end of sector 1. If it happens again, he's blaming you.
It's not my fault, as Hindle's just gone first.
I'm feeling ill at the moment, but I know I have the pace of this track, stupid close. But he messaged me again and said that he's been sick 9 times.
Oh, he's been sick 9 times, so Hybrid Nuke not feeling too well at the moment, and that could be showing because he's just gone out on track on a set of option tyres. I think that might be a little bit too soon. We'll just have a quick look. Let's see. Oh no, actually, you know what? He may have just about called that right. By the time he gets round to the start finish, he should be okay on the option tyre. For any of the other drivers that are out on track, they might not know that he's on the option tyre yet, but they soon will if he manages to get a lap in. You can see he's struggling a little bit with grip at the moment because the track is still damp, but by the time he gets to the end of this out lap, the lap time that these tyres will be capable of in these conditions should be faster than the intermediates. So we'll just have to wait and see how he gets on, because the circuit will be slippy, it will be greasy, braking won't be easy, although it might have ABS on, turning also won't be easy, and getting the power down you would think might not be easy either. Depends what aids the drivers have on the cars. But here we go then, heading up to turn 1. Very, very hard on the brakes there. Oh, big wiggle on the exit of the corner. Slowing down a lot more than he perhaps would have liked to for turn 1, but knowing that he had to given the conditions of the road at the moment. Turn 2, is it going to be a problem for him? No, not really. It's only a 17.2 sector 1 time though, and we saw that Hindle on the intermediate tyres did do a 17.0, so it's possible that Hybrid Nuke has just called it a little too soon. I think it was a 33.1 Hindle did in sector 2. We've got a couple of corners to go until we find his sector 2 time. If it is into the 32s or better, then the circuit's coming to him. It's a 33.1, so it's just about matching the intermediate tyre at the moment. 2 corners to go. May just be able to sneak ahead, but I think anyone that waits a moment and goes out at the last, whoever's out latest really, crosses the line last, has got the best chance of pole position here. But across the line, Hybrid's going to go, and it's a 12.9. Only puts him second place, but that lap time could improve. See who else we've got out on track. Charlie's going to put himself into 5th place at the moment. Richie Davey is in 3rd, and he is on a flying lap. On the intermediate still, though, he's soon going to find himself flying down the order. Charlie is on a set of intermediates, only an 18.1 sector 1 time, though. And he has been dropped down by Rickster, who also on a set of intermediate tyres has just gone second place. This is going to get very, very hectic in these last few moments. Dave the Harp, he's on his way into the pits on a set of intermediate tyres. Andy Russell, he's done a sector 1 time on the inters. That's a good sector 1 time. Can he back it up with a decent sector 2 and 3? Now, Ray, have you managed to join us in spectate mode in the commentary box?
Yeah, I'm in spectate mode. I'm just checking what's going on. I'm sure As a Marks went on to the options.
Quite possibly. I will find out in a moment. Andy Russell's Sector 2 time, it's a 33.5. It's not too bad, but if he completes this lap, he's not going to have enough time to get back in the pits and put on a set of dry tyres and get another lap in. But he is going to have enough time to complete this lap. Around the final corner he goes. It could improve on his current position. It's a 1:13.6, puts himself 6th place. It's hammer times on a set of options on an out lap. Hybrid Nuke, he's back into the garage. Richie Davies running out of fuel. Andy Russell looks like he's continued on for another lap. He's done another 17.2. Asamoah, he is on a set of option tyres. You're right, Ray. So let's see how he gets on into turn 1. He's got a car ahead of him. Don't know what tyres they are on, but they've just had a big wiggle out of turn 1, moving out of the way. So what can Asamoah do then, heading up to turn 2? What is your sector time going to be? A 16.0 is a really good one. A 17.0 in these conditions, actually not too bad. It's going to be difficult to get the power down. DRS may be available, which has just caused that twitch there. And when I asked Asamoah for his pre-race comments, it was simply a 4-word answer. Good to be back. He may not have felt that way when he saw that the rain was falling, but he's now on the option tyres. So we'll see how he gets on through Sector 2. We saw that... Sorry, go on, Ray.
There's something going on. I'll let you continue.
No problems. 32.3 Sector 2 time for Asamoah. That's not too shabby, you know. It's up there, I think, slightly faster than what Hybrid Nuke was able to do. Into the final corner now. Power down. DRS may be open. Up to the finish line. Where's he going to be? First place. Pole position at the moment for Asamoah. But I don't think this session is over because Hindle has just crossed the line and taken pole position right behind him. And this is in hammer time. He's just followed him as well. It's going to get very, very hectic. Rickster's in 4th place. I think he hasn't got enough time to get around and get another lap in. Hybrid Nuke's got 45 seconds to get to the start-finish line. K-Slay may get a lap in. Andy Russell's still running inters. Charlie's still running inters from a Racing GP. He's actually done a 16.9 Sector 1 time. It's not quite the fastest, 16.5s at the moment. Now, when we asked from a Racing GP for his pre-race comments, you're all right, Ray, I'll spare you this one. From a Racing GP said, ready but ready, not ready, really ready, very looking forward, not backwards, from the front, not the back, so back again at the front, hoping for the top step of the top of the podium. Yeah, cheers for that one, Steve. So, 3rd place for Steve then with a 1:10.358 and has enough time to get one more lap in, but we're now sent away up into the commentary box. So, let's see, Hybrid Nuke, I've got a feeling he's going to go and pop in a fast lap. He's coming through Sector 2 now. Frustratingly, we won't get to see sector times. It's hammer times gone pole position with a 1:07.851. That's a very good lap time in these conditions. Not completely dry yet, but can Hybrid Nuke improve? He needs to, because he's only in 7th place at the moment. Heading up to the finish line, and he goes 2nd place. K-Slay looks like he did manage to get his lap started. Into the final couple of corners he goes. He needs to improve as well because he's currently sat in 9th place. And clearly see a nice drier line now on the circuit. 2nd place for K-Slay from a Racing GP. Only a few metres to go now to the finish line for him, and it's 5th place for Front Row Racing GP, and that is session over. So it's hammer time. Said he was feeling positive about getting pole position here, and he's done it. So it's hammer time. Pole position, K-Slay 2nd, Hybrid Nuke 3rd, Hindle 4th. They won't be happy about that. Front Row Racing GP 5th, Dave the Harp 6th, Asamoah 7th, and then we've got intermediate running tyres. Rickster, Richie Davey, Andy Russell, Charlie, Adam Ford 4600 and Ant 69. Farfber did manage to get in the session, so hopefully we'll be able to start the race. Well, that was a bit frantic, wasn't it?
Yep, especially when you get taken at the lobby. It's like, oh no.
Yeah. Okay, I tell you what, I've got a feeling that a few of the drivers will be sat there going, they went onto dry tyres? Yes, they did. They really did. Okay, so it's time then for the Front Row Racing World Series Round 8 at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. We've no idea what the weather's going to be like for the start of the race, but we're about to find out. And don't think naughty thoughts when you're having a look at that picture of the bull there. I think they could have edited that picture a little differently, really. He's got something dangling between his legs. But yeah, we have got what looks like a very, very wet circuit. Do you reckon it's full wet tyres, Ray?
By the looks of it, yes.
I think I would have to agree with you. This is a circuit, though, where unless it gets very hot, very quick, it's not going to dry up very fast at all. Now, I believe Farfber is ahead of you, Ray, and next to me. So we shouldn't have to get out of the way of anybody, but it does look like a full wet tyre situation. It is, and according to the strategies, it'd be a one-stop race if it stays full wet. I don't think it will. Okay, Ray, you got 5 seconds to give us your prediction.
Don't know.
You know what? I'm going to go for... It's hammer time. The lights are on then. 4 lights, 5 lights. It's time to go racing. So as they make their way then up to turn 1, we will hope that they all manage to negotiate it nice and cleanly. Not always easy to do though. And there is contact, I think. Caseley, Sideways, Hindle and Hybrid Nuke. They've had very good starts in the Williams. They're now up to first and second. Dave the Harp's up to third. I don't know where It's Hammer Time has dropped down to. I can't see him in the first 7 or 8 cars. Farfber, he's managed to get up to 8th place. Oh, Dave the Harp looks like he's going very slow on the exit of turn 2. Oh, and Hindle all out of shape part way down the straight. Caseley in 13th, so it's not gone well for It's Hammer Time then. Didn't see what happened, but that I think is Azamort in the Mana Marusha in 5th place. It is just behind his good friend Richie Davey, who does quite often like a little bit of wet running. So Hindle then leading the way, and It's Hammer Time.
Going for a... Oh, Paul's lost it. Or is that a bit of lag?
No, he's in the gravel. He is in the gravel in the distance, no, I think. No, he's not. Okay, you might be right. It might be a little bit of lag there. But It's Hammer Time. He did say that he wasn't looking forward to this race if it ends up wet. From a racing GP, he's in 12th place as well, so something's happened to him. Dave the Harp, he's in 12th. He's had a bit of a mare there. I wonder if he's going for the pit lane.
Close.
Dave the Harp's lost the front wing. He's got no front wing on that car. Okay, so end of lap 1, Hindle still leading the way with Hybrid Nuke in 2nd place, Caseley in 3rd, and he's being challenged by Richie David. We've got Farfber off in the background as well. No, that's lag again. That's going to be difficult to keep an eye on. Richie David trying to send Caseley defensive, but instead it's sent him very, very wide on the exit of turn 2. So that's Richie Davey up to 4th place. Charlie now into 5th, and he's got Azamor next to him. You can't really see him here, but he is there. I do assure you, he is there somewhere, if it gave me a decent view. But Charlie's ran a little bit wide. There we go. There's Azamor. Oh, Charlie's gone deep, though. He's gone deep at the corner. That's going to give Azamor half a chance, but he can't quite make it through. Rickster, he's now under attack from... sorry, it's still showing me Charlie. My mistake. Where is Rickster? Oh, Azamor and Paul had a little bit of contact. They're supposed to be teammates in this race, so they won't be too pleased about that one. But then we don't know exactly where Paul's car is, because at the moment it's trying to hump a McLaren. And Adam 4600, he's in 9th place at the moment. He said before the race his aim is to survive the pit exits and try and steal some points for himself and the team. He's in 9th place with Front Row Racing GP, and It's Hammer Time behind them. And then we've got Andy Russell Okay, let's have another look up at the front. Hindle is opening up a gap now. Hybrid Nuke in second place. He's going to have Richie Davey all over the back of him very, very soon. It's getting very frantic in the middle part of this order.
And the skies are looking a wee bit bluer.
Also, Ray's keen eye suggesting that the skies are brightening up a little bit as Rickster and Azamor going side by side through Sector 2. And this is a track where making that tyre strategy call, it's not an easy one. If you're on the full wet tyre and the circuit dries a little bit, making that call of going onto the intermediates or staying on the full wet and then going to the dries, it's not an easy decision to make. Now, Farfba's car is all over the place at the moment. Very difficult to see exactly what is going on there. And Front Racing GP has got its hammer time and Andy Russell all over the back of him. But to be fair, he's not far off the car ahead either. And we're already 4 laps into this race, Ray. And it's going to go quick as Andy Russell makes a beautiful move on its hammer time into turn 1. So what have you got your eye on there, Ray?
I was just watching that overtake.
It was a very nice move, I have to admit.
For GP. Has he got it?
No, he hasn't quite got the grip up the inside. For a Racing GP able to get the power down and pull ahead. But Andy Russell's looking fairly overtakey here today. Now, Ant69, he's now down in 13th place, so we didn't see what happened to him. He's now on the back of this train. He was in 9th, unless it was Adam 4600 that I saw in 9th place and got that one slightly wrong. Very easy to do.
Now, if you were the Williams and you think it's going to dry up, would you, the second car, would you get him to hold up the rest of the field to make that gap so these don't compromise each other on the pit lane?
It's an interesting question, and it's one that's not easy to answer, as Richie Davey is all over the back of Hybrid Nuke, whose helmet could fill up with hybrid puke at any point. And he won't want it happening as he's braking into turn 2. It could splatter all over his visor and he wouldn't be able to see as they go side by side. But we saw earlier, the wider line has got the better grip on the exit of that corner. Okay, in answer to the question, you know what? If you Hindle, you pit when it's time for you to pit. You don't care about what's happening behind you. For your teammate, if you think it might be ready for the Inters and your teammate doesn't pit, go for it. Because if you get an undercut on your teammate, you could be ahead of him. So you kind of have to be a little bit selfish, but also play the team game at the same time. There's no point in Hindle saying to Hybrid Nuke, hold him up, because if he does, it's going to hurt Hybrid Nuke's race. What he should be saying to him is, pull away from him. Because Richie Davey
does cut up the back of Charlie.
He is closing in. I tell you what though, looking at the skies, there is definitely some beautiful clear blue skies in the distance, and I'm fairly sure I've just seen around the final corners the light raise a little bit. It got a little bit shinier, but as we saw in the World Championship race go on.
Turn 1, Front Row Racing GP and Adam 4600 or 4600.
Oh, contact! And that's caught Andy Russell as well. I think they're still managing to keep going. Didn't see exactly what happened there, but now we've got a bit of a three-way battle as the Red Bull. Oh, I thought that P0 sign was just going to become a 0 sign. Well, Adam 4600 was in 9th place. He's now down into 11th as Front Row Racing GP is now up to 10th. Andy Russell did get ahead of Front Row Racing GP. It's hammer time now, side by side with Adam 4600. As I was mentioning earlier, or I was about to mention, in the World Championship race last night, we did see that when it rains here, you can be on a dry tyre for quite some time when it rains. But as we saw in qualifying here, as Adam and it's hammer time side by side through Sector 2, and Adam having to concede the position. If you get that call wrong, the intermediate tyre will still be faster. Now, they're not on intermediates at the moment, but this is the decision the drivers are going to have to make. Hybrid Nuke is leading the race. Yeah. So, Ray, keep an eye on him. Tell us what tyre is going on. Oh, Hybrid Nuke. I think Richie Davey, has just caught the back of Hybrid Nuke. Cost himself a little bit of time. What did you say tyre is on, Ray?
They're changing to inters. The pit lane is busy.
It's very busy. I've got an eye on Azamort here as 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's at least 6 or 7 cars into the pit lane. It is absolutely manic down there. Hopefully no one's going to get run over. And hopefully nobody's going to hit the barrier on the way out and lose a front wing and have to pit again. So Hindle was the first to pit for the intermediate tyre. He's currently in 4th place. I would reckon his teammate is going to be going for the inters as well. No, it's not going to be easy.
I think front row racing GP has lost out in that. He's down in 13th place.
Down in 13th? Maybe it was Casely, the Ferrari that I saw then, slightly ahead of Azamort. I wonder if perhaps they double stacked. Hybrid Nuke is into the pit lane, so he's going for his intermediate tyres. Richie Davey trying to get into the pit lane, so he's going for intermediates as well. Rickster, he's on his way in there as well, sliding the car around the penultimate corner. So where is Hindle? Hindle is already at the final corner. He's going to retake the lead, and probably by quite a large amount. Where is Hybrid Nuke?
He's just coming out the pit.
Yep,
well,
so, I mean, Hindle, he's got a massive jump on these guys here. The question is, are any of the cars that were behind Hybrid and Richie Davey going to have been able to catch up? Casely is up to 5th place, but I think it's Ant69 that's ahead of him, still on the full wet tyre. He's spotted that everyone else is on inters. He's stayed on the full wets. Maybe he just wants to avoid that pit lane at all costs. Problem is, he could find himself surrounded by... Yeah, well, he could get a puncture, but he could also get surrounded here. Casely's looking very fast at the moment on the intermediate tyre. And there we go, making a move up the inside on Ant69. And he's all over the back now of Richie Davey. So, Kay pitting the lap earlier.
Ahead there, Richie.
He has. That's Kay up to 3rd place then. So Richie Davey has lost out through that round of stops.
He's on the primes.
Is he?
He's on the prime tyres.
Who? Richie Davey?
Yeah.
He's on the option tyres. Yeah, he's...
sorry, option, sorry.
So the curse of Austria has struck again then for Richie Davey. That'd be why he was struggling behind Ant. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I think it's fair to say then that Richie Davey will be the one that's lost out the most in those round of pit stops then. It's Hammer Time, just posted the fastest lap of the race so far, 16.3, as from a Racing GP in 11th place, now 10th place, trying to catch up to Adam 4600. A bit of a... I don't know if that was a brave call by Richie Davey there, or whether it was a pit lane error. Ant69, he's gone for the pits, he's got around the pit exit without losing the front wing. Farfba in 12th place, he's in a Force India, but will score points for the Marussia team, not far behind Ant now. And Dave the Harp, he is, I think, quite a long way back. Hindle, though, runaway leader at the moment, got it all nice and comfortable. Hybrid Nuke's in 2nd place, 7 seconds behind him. Casely, another 7 seconds down, but there's Charlie in the background in 4th place at the moment. So, what have you got an eye on, Ray? Is there anyone close having a battle that we should go and watch?
I was just watching Charlie, seeing how close he was getting in the lap.
I've got
Hammer Time's in the pits.
I've got a feeling it's not far off time, ready for a dry tyre, you know. And I've got a feeling if Hammer Time's pitting now, it might be for a dry tyre.
He's got the options out.
I tell you what, if it is now time for the dry tyre, Richie Davey is going to end up kicking himself because he's just got rid of the dry tyre. The Sauber crew are coming out as well. It's Richie Davey, he's back into the pits. He's getting rid. I think he's got intermediate tyres on. Options. He has. No, he's on intermediates at the moment. So he pitted, got rid of his options, put inters on. He's just pitted again, got rid of them, put options on. Oh, time for the gambles to see if they're going to pay off. Very, very interesting.
Dave the Harp, Paul's been in. Hindle's coming in.
I tell you what, if Hindle's coming in, that would suggest that it's definitely time for the dry tyre. Hybrid Nuke is continuing on. He hasn't really got much of a choice about that because his teammate is in the pits. Hybrid now searching for water.
Charlie's coming in. Azamot's coming in. Rickster's coming in.
So the pit lane's getting really busy again.
It's continuing.
Well, he's kind of got to. His teammate Casely gets away. Charlie, I think he's just been held up a little bit by Azamot, who now gets into his pit box. Azamot putting the intermediate tyres on. Option tyres on. Rickster's put option tyres on. You were right, Adam 4600 has pitted, he's put the option tyres on. Ant 69, I wonder what tyres he's on. He's on the intermediates, so he pitted later than most, and he is still running the inters as Rickster comes out of the pits on a set of options next to him, and we've got two cars nearly side by side up ahead, and that's its hammer time.
Azamot.
Yep, Azamot and it's yes, Azamot and it's hammer time. And the thing is, if they're on the dry tyre now, that means that DRS may be available. We're looking at the speed difference here. I'd say not yet. Up the inside's going to be difficult here in the wet conditions. Azamot lets him through to slide out wide, takes the inside drier line, could help him keep the position. But he has now left the inside open, so it's hammer time now up to 6th place. Charlie, he's on the option tyre in 5th, running well at the moment. Casely in 4th. Hybrid Nuke is in the pits and coming out on a set of option tyres as Farfber's race is now over. So Hindle's had two big undercuts over his teammate. The question is, has Casely been able to undercut Hybrid Nuke at all? Not enough, I don't think. He may have closed the gap in on him, but not enough to gain any kind of position. Well, good luck trying to keep up with this one, folks. We're at the racetrack and we're finding it difficult. It's hammer times up to 5th place.
That's nice.
Well, he
was the first on... well, apart from Richie Davey,
well,
he was the first on the options.
First on options when he wants to be on options. I was just surprised. I'm sure he moved up into 6th place a few moments ago. Now, Ant 69, he's still running the intermediate tyre, and he's in 8th place at the moment from a Racing GP. Oh, he's got Adam 4600 behind him, who's jumping around a little bit at the moment. Not what you want in a tricky condition circuit. As Hindle posts the fastest lap of the race. Richie Davey, he's in 11th place. He's not too far behind from a Racing GP and Adam 4600, but that double stop he had to make, well, it wasn't a double stop, was it? It was a triple stop. Because he pitted, Richie Davey, he pitted from full wets, put slicks on, pitted again, put inters on, pitted again, put slicks on. So yeah, it was a triple stop for Richie Davey. He will not have been happy about that at all. Okay, 13 laps completed in the race. We're now onto a dry track, or a drying track, but it's still not going to be easy for any of the drivers. No.
Until it dries out completely, I see a few mistakes coming our way. Sorry, I had a frog in my throat.
Well, you're right, because take too much curb in these conditions and a little splash of that water is going to spin you around. Charlie here running in 4th place, not too far behind Casely. And it's hammer time is catching him up fairly damn fast now. It's hammer time. I think he might be sniffing a bit of a podium here, posting another new fastest lap of the race. Charlie's going to be coming under a lot of pressure fairly soon. Now, apologies to the drivers for that random who has just joined. Unfortunately, when the host ends up getting disconnected, annoyingly, it takes it from an invite-only lobby to anyone can join. But at least, thankfully, we are quite a far way into the race, and they can't get onto the circuit. Unless we're going to have a bit of a Singapore situation where we see a guy walking down the racetrack in his underpants in the rain. Okay, that bit didn't happen, but he did walk down the racetrack. Okay, Charlie is coming under a lot of pressure. Now, we did ask him what his pre-race comments were, and he didn't have anything to say. A few of them with not much to say before the race here. I think it's one of those races where the concentration is very, very much needed for the drivers. But it's hammer time, definitely closing that up fairly quick. Asamoah in 6th place, all on his own at the moment, but Rickster not too far away. He can see him, just needs to catch him. For a Racing GP is now up to 8th place, and Richie Davey up to 9th. Andy Russell up to 10th because Ant69 has now pitted. It's time for Richie Davey to try and show some of the pace he had in the opening laps of this Grand Prix. I'll tell you what I didn't do, Ray. I didn't take note of when the guys started making their pit stops for the dry tyre, because as we know, the tyre life on these option tyres around this track is not very good.
It's about, what, 4 laps ago?
It's a difficult one to guess. It could have been about 4 or 5 laps ago, 3-4 laps ago. But the option tyres, they will only be really good for about 6-7 laps. But in these tricky conditions, they may not even last that long, because they will have been sliding them about for the first couple of laps. But it's hammer time. He's pretty much all over the back of Charlie now. Could well be in DRS range as Casely pops in a new fastest lap of the race. I don't know if you want to keep an eye on him, Ray, to see if he's catching up with Hybrid Nuke at all, because it's hammer time definitely is catching Charlie here.
I will do it, and I'll be watching Richie Davey as well, because it seems to be closing a wee bit at a time. Sorry.
It's alright, carry on, because it's hammer time. Just gave Charlie a nudge, although he might actually go for a DRS overtake now. DRS definitely activated now, and it almost looks like all of the raindrops have stopped falling. Oh, Charlie's run a little bit wide. Is that going to give Hammer a bit of a chance to overtake? No, not yet. And now you're in this situation, may as well wait until the start-finish straight or the second DRS. But it'd be interesting to know what happened to his hammer time at the start of the race, because he was on pole position. Andy Russell, his race is over. But yeah, his hammer time was on in pole position. He's going for the pits. He's going for the pits. So he was the first to pit for the option tyre earlier. He's going to be the first to pit again. I wonder if he's going to go for options or primes. It looks like it may be another set of option tyres. So yeah, it's about 6-7 laps his tyres have lasted. Andy Russell leaving the racetrack. I don't blame him if it's a race that's not gone too well, but it's hammer time. Has bolted on a new set of option tyres. You might think that's a bit of a daft decision, but you know what? He could get a very, very big undercut here, as long as he can keep it out of the barrier. Okay, Casely, we saw posted a new fastest lap a lap or so ago. Currently third place, 15 seconds off the lead. Hybrid Nuke only 9 seconds off the lead, so 6 seconds between second and third place. Hindle, he's into the pits. Oh, I don't know if that's just visuals or not, but he is now eventually into the pit lane. The tricky situation for the drivers here, though, is do they run options all the way to the end, or do they stick a set of prime tyres on, as Hindle is doing here, and try and do longer stints? The prime tyres are a much slower tyre, but will be more consistent and will last longer. But because the drivers have already used a set of wet tyres, or even the set of intermediate tyres, they do not have to run both of the slick tyre compounds anymore. They can, if they want, run primes all the way to the end, or even options all the way to the end.
GP's in the pits. I'll let you know what tyres, and there's going to be another car coming in. Sauber's coming in.
So that'll be Richie Davey, because his teammate is no longer in the race. But Hybrid Nuke is
options. So
it's options for the Ferrari then. Now, if Casely wants to try and really catch Hybrid Nuke here, he could do with Hybrid Nuke going on for another lap and pitting himself. Hybrid Nuke is going for another lap. Casely, you need to pit, my friend. If you want to catch him, you need to pit, and he is doing. So where's Hindle? Oh, the lead that Hindle had was huge. He's already on the penultimate corners. But Hybrid Nuke could be about to find himself under attack, depending on which tyre Casely goes for. If you could let us know on that one. Oh, it's Charlie taking an interesting line into the pit lane. Asamoah and Rickster. Oh, Asamoah's into the barrier in the pit lane. He's lost a front wing. Oh, my days. Not what he would have wanted to do there. That's going to mean a slightly longer pit stop for him. And it's hammer time on his brand new tyres. Now posting a new fastest lap. Front Row Racing GP pitted a lap before those that are now in the pits. Will he be able to undercut any? He's got to be careful though, because he's got Richie Davey in that Sauber behind him. We can see a few cars trying to make their way out of the pit lane now. So Ray, what tyres have they gone for?
It was options, but Rickster has went primes.
So Rickster looking for the long game possibly then, but he's going to find himself under attack because the three cars behind him, they're all on options.
Yeah, only Rickster and the Williams, I can't remember the driver, is on
Hindle.
primes. Everybody else is on options at the moment.
Now, has Hybrid Nuke, has he made a pit stop yet? No, he hasn't. If you want to just keep an eye on him, Ray, to let us know when he does go for the pit lane. I mean, Rickster going for the prime tyre might not be that bad a decision. I mean, the prime tyres will do 10 laps very comfortably. They can do 12, but the lap times really... We've still got 17 laps of this race to go, so I think you'll still be looking at a couple of stops for the option runners and possibly one stop for the prime tyre runners at the moment.
Yeah, Hybrid Nick, is he going to pit? Yep, he's gone for the pit. It looks like he's setting up the pit lane. Yep, he's to the corner tight.
Now, we mentioned about Casely getting an undercut on Hybrid Nuke. I tell you what, he wasn't expecting. That's its hammer time, getting an undercut on him. Hybrid Nuke staying out for that extra couple of laps could mean he's about to find himself very close to this Ferrari and this Mercedes, depending on whereabouts he is. We've got another Mercedes in the pit lane and Hybrid Nuke.
Dave the Harp.
Yeah, it is Dave the Harp. So Hybrid Nuke on his way around turn one, and there we are. Casely and the Mercedes of its hammer time are now within the screenshot. So the undercut there has given Casely about 5 seconds, and that is an enormous amount to make on the undercut around this track. Problem is, he's going to have slightly more worn tyres than the car ahead.
Oh, Rickster and Asamoah coming down into turn 2, I think it is. Yep, it is. And oh, there's a train of them. 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th.
It's a tricky situation.
What one do you watch? Richie Davies going for it on Front Row Racing GP. GP needs to watch how he brakes because he was right behind Rickster there. Richie Davies got the overtake.
Richie was quite clever there. He positioned his car so that Front Row Racing GP couldn't go for an overtake on Rickster, allowing Richie to get ahead of Front Row Racing GP. And now he's all over the back of Rickster, who's on the prime tyre. Asamoah has managed to get ahead, now needs to pull away. Rickster's definitely in a bit of a sandwich at the moment. Oh, there's a beautiful camera angle from the helicopter here as they make their way down the start-finish straight. But I tell you what, Rickster might even be closing that gap up down the start-finish, but he will have DRS available. It's here from turn 2 onwards. Well, turn 2, he'll still have DRS, but he's going to have to be careful of the very attacking Richie Davey. But I tell you what, we've got Front Row Racing GP trying to make a move on Richie Davey, but Richie braking very, very late, having to avoid the back of Rickster as he does so. But this, again, could now be interesting down into turn 3 as Rickster has got to be careful of Richie Davey behind him. Oh, Richie doesn't go for the move on this occasion.
Oh, as I said, the wiggle, he's Richter's caught right up the back of him out of that corner.
Now it'd be interesting to see what happens at the end. I mean, what would you have done, Ray? The rain disappears. Would you just think, right, I'll use up the options all the way to the end of the race, or put on primes, do the longer stints, and see if we can do it with less pit stops?
I would have went primes and tried.
Oh, Rickster chucking it right up the inside in the final corner. That could have been absolute carnage. Somehow it wasn't. Could be deemed a beautiful overtake, but I think he may have just caught Azamort off guard a little bit there. But that's put Richie Davey up a position as well. So Rickster on the harder tyre. Wow, very interesting move. Now, Ray, you keep an eye on this battle here. I'm going to have to go and have a look at Hybrid Nuke. It's hammer time. We've missed it, but it's hammer time. Has got ahead of K-Slay. He's now down in 4th place. Dropped off quite a bit as well. But behind it's hammer time.
Oh, contact! Richard Davey went for an overtake and there was a wee collision. He's down into 9th place.
Typical. I should have stayed on this one. I'll tell you what, Ray, I'll keep an eye on this one. You go and have a look. Somewhere on track, there's a Red Bull and a Mercedes battling it out. But Azamort, he's now...
It's 11 and 12, Dave the Harp and Adam 4600.
Okay, you keep an eye on that one then, as Azamort is now under pressure from Front Racing GP. Richie won't be happy that he's ended up in a bit of a collision there. He was making gains. Okay, GP has now got DRS, but that Mana Marusha may also have it as well. But up the inside into turn 1 they go. Side by side. Oh, big wiggle from Azamort there, but they managed to avoid each other. Is Azza going to try and come back through into turn 2? No, I think the gap is just a little bit too big now.
Yeah, the gap.
Oh, Richie Davey! Sorry, Richie Davey's just given Azamort a little bit of a nudge. I don't know if it was those two who came together earlier, but Richie has just given him a little bit of a nudge, as I say. I'm here, and I'm coming past. Into turn 3, I'm coming past, but I don't think Az will give it up easily. Sorry, the gap between 11th, was it you were saying, Ray?
Yeah, it went big, but Dave the Harp's got it back down with the DRS, and I don't think he's close enough for turn 1, but if he keeps with him, he might get it in the second DRS. Oh, a wee bit of lag from Adam 4600 there.
Difficult thing for these two drivers, though, is that they're in a bit of a blue flag situation. Adam 4600 is jumping about a bit. I think the Mercedes of its hammer time is ahead of these guys. K-Slay just behind them. But this is where Dave the Harp just needs to be clever. Okay, you want to overtake, but you got a leading car behind you. Move out of the way, let him through, and then follow him. When Adam 4600 has to get out of the way, follow him through. He needs to be closer, though. He needs to be closer to that Mercedes, to that Ferrari. If he can close that gap up a little bit, he'll be able to sneak through, as that Red Bull has to get out of the way. It's a very, very clever tactic to use, and one I know that a few of the drivers do use. It's worth doing. At the end of the day, if you've got to move out of the way for another car, blue flag, then so is the car ahead of you. Adam 4600 now out of the way. See, this is where Dave now needs to try and maximise it. Adam 4600's having none of it as he gets back onto the racing line. So Dave not able to capitalise there. Needed to be a little bit smarter on that one. It's hammer time. I think he's pitted. He has. He's got the prime tyre on. He's going to the end now on a set of prime tyres. That was the difficulty for him pitting earlier, whereas everybody else may be able to go on the extra 2 or 3 laps and put on a set of options. Get ready, Ray. The pit lane, I think, is about to get busy again.
I will be ready and waiting.
Now, Hindle, the race leader, he's continuing on prime tyres. I've got a feeling he may finish the race on a set of options. Hybrid Nuke is 8 seconds behind him, and he is on a set of options, so he'll be looking to go another couple of laps and then put another set of options on. If he's going for option tyres now, he may not be able to get it to work for him. but I do know that he prefers the prime tyre, sorry, the option tyre over the prime. Charlie's on his way into the pits, Ray. If you can keep an eye on what tyres the guys are using. It's hammer time. He's gone for the undercut here. Is it going to work for him? Currently in 5th place. Going to pass a few cars in the pits.
Casely's options, Charlie's, primes.
Well, this is...
I think somebody's hit the pit wall. I heard a scrape, and I don't know who it was because I can't find them.
Well, Charlie, he's all over the back. No, it's Rickster, sorry, who's all over the back of Caseley, but I don't think Rickster pitted. Go on, Ray. I heard you go, oh, that usually means someone's done something.
Charlie hit the pit wall on the exit, but he's kept his front wing intact. How he done that, I don't know.
Got away with that one a little bit then. Okay, Front Racing GP...
in the pits. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Front Racing GP has managed to break away from Richie Davey and Azamort. Rickster was the other car in this battle. Rickster has actually, on his prime tyres, has managed to pull away from the guys on the options, hinting that the prime tyre may have been the better tyre to go on. I think you're still going to be having a... Go on.
Hybrid options.
So he has gone option then. Hindle. Did you say Hindle pitted? I don't think he did. He hasn't, has he? No. He's got Ant 69 behind him, but obviously Ant is in a blue flag situation.
GP in the pits and he's doing options. There's an car, there's Richard Davey and Azamort right next to each other. If Azamort team get this sorted, they might have to hold Richard Davey.
I think you're right. If Azza can get past, yes. So Azza, he's jumped him in the pits. Richie will not be happy about that. He won't be happy at all about that. So what tyres have those three gone for then, Ray?
Options.
So they are going to the end on the option tyre then. So a couple of things we need to keep an eye out. Rickster, what is he going to do? Currently running primes. I think he's got a pit soon. It's hammer time.
In the pits.
Yeah, I think Hindle will be going for a set of option tyres. It's Hammer Time's running prime tyres at the moment. The car behind him, Caseley, he's on the option tyres. Sorry about the dodgy camera work there, but it doesn't really give you brilliant camera angles when you change from car to car. Caseley can just about see the car ahead, but should be faster at this time of the race on these tyres. Now, I would guess that Hindle has come out in the lead. He has, and he has gone for a set of the option tyre. And Hybrid Nuke, he's not far behind him, you know. We've got a big train of cars here. 2nd, 10th, 3rd, 11th. But I think the gap between Hybrid Nuke and Hindle, it is very, very small now. It was about 8-9 seconds. It's now about 3.
Yeah, and Hybrid Nuke had to navigate out the pits around the cars because they were all around him at the time.
Oh, bit of lag kicking in there, but Hybrid Nuke heading into the penultimate corner. He can see his teammate just ahead of him, so he knows what his target is. It's Hammer Time's got 2 blue flag cars to try and get past. And one of them being Ant 69, who's jumping about a bit. Definitely a bit of lag kicking in this one. But to be honest, I think it's Hammer Time. He either knew that he wasn't going to get to the end on another set of option tyres, or he just thought the primes would be better at this stage of the race. But he's going to have to be careful still of Caseley potentially catching him. Okay, that's odd. It says that Charlie is in 4th place. Caseley in 3rd place. Hybrid Nuke is the leader. And Hindle is showing as being in 9th place. I think we've got a little bit of lag going on here that has disrupted the order. And thinking about it, it did happen for the World Series last season. There was a few oddities going on, mainly caused by one of the Red Bull cars having a bit of a laggy situation. But I do think that Hindle is still leading the race, considering that Hybrid Nuke is behind him and can see his teammate up the road. Yeah, it's put Hybrid Nuke back into 2nd place now.
Rich is back ahead of Azamort.
Oh, and Azza's lost it. He just had a massive tank slapper out of the corner there. And great camera angle, having a look at the hill and a crane. But yeah, Azza having a massive wiggle there. May be able to catch back up to Richie Davey, but it's not going to be easy. Richie Davey can just about see the car ahead. Has he got enough laps to try and catch and pass? I think for Richie Davey, he's going to be devastated about how this race has gone. He was up there fighting third place, or got himself into third place, and then an absolute disaster from there on in.
Casely doesn't have to pit again, does he?
No, Casely doesn't have to pit again, but he has got 10 laps to do on his set of option tyres. So whether his tyres will really last or not, I don't know. He's 15 seconds off the lead at the moment. It's Hammer Time is 8 seconds off the lead. So I'm not sure if Casely is going to be able to close that gap in, but it's Hammer Time struggling now on his prime tyres. Hybrid Nuke is 4 seconds off the lead, so although Hindle was undercut by a huge amount, I think he is fairly safe. Charlie, 31 seconds off the lead, and I think not close enough to catch up to 4th place at the moment. He has got a car ahead of him though. Now where's his teammate? Rickster in 6th place, just crossing the start-finish line now into turn 1. And then Front Row Racing GP into turn 1, so potential of getting close, maybe 5th, 6th, or 6th, 7th and 8th, or 5th, 6th, 7th may get close towards the end. Richie Davey not that far behind from Row Racing GP, so depending on how the tyres last for these guys, depends on whether we're going to have a little bit of action on the final few laps.
I'm going to do my rain dance now.
I tell you what, a little sprinkling of rain now would probably really throw things up in the air. Because as we saw last night, it did start raining, but it didn't get wet enough for intermediate tyres for quite a few laps.
Time to talk about penalties, I think, Ray. I don't know.
Well, I was actually going to ask you to have a look. I've got a feeling there may be a few drivers with a few penalties. It could be worth having a look, Ray, just for your own entertainment.
It's not for my entertainment. I don't want to see them.
Well, Hindle, I'll tell you what, he's looked fairly solid throughout in this race, from start to finish. I mean, obviously, we still don't know yet what happened at turn 1 with its Hammer Time. He was on pole position, and then he was pretty much at the back of the grid. Dave the Harp ended up with no front wing. I don't know if that was from a crash, but that was much further around the first lap of the race. Let's have a...
3 drivers got 3 penalties.
Ooh, 3 drivers with 3 penalties. Place your bets on who they will be. Now, Charlie in 5th place. His teammate, I think, is catching him up, but might not have enough laps to get past him. But I tell you what, Richie Davey is catching Front Row Racing GP. This one could get close towards the last lap or two. Azamore, I think he has dropped off into the background a little bit. He has. It's Hammer Time. He's struggling now on these prime tyres. He's dropped a couple of seconds off the leader since we last had a look. He's now down to 10 seconds behind. So that pretty much leaves the Williams pairing as being safe out at the front. But can Casely catch him? No, K is another 8 seconds off. His tyres will be near enough screaming it enough by now. By the time he's on lap 35 and lap 36, those options will want to finish.
Will they do 10 laps without a puncture, do you reckon?
They'll do 10 laps without puncturing, depending on how aggressive the drivers are on the tyres. usually your punctures would come around about lap 13. So 10 you should be safer from punctures, but it all depends on whether you dip a wheel in the gravel lap after lap after lap. Now this is getting close. Richie Davey looked like he was going for a Richie Davey defensive line, and then realised actually no, he needs the slipstream.
Charlie and Rickster.
Oh, so they're getting close then. They are. Rickster is all over the back of him. And this is an interesting situation because Charlie will want the points, but it's his teammate, so he may not want to hold him up too much, but he might want to fight him for it. And Rickster has got...
This is Honda McCann garage. Just race, boys, just race.
Not anymore, not anymore. Hold your position. Rickster manages to get through. Richie Davey is all over the back of from a racing GP, or at least he was, until he looked like he had a little bit of a moment on the exit of turn 3 there. But one thing we're just going to have to keep an eye out, Ray, is how far Hindle is through his lap. If you could quickly have a look, because he should be on the last lap of the race now.
Yeah, he's just coming into sector 2.
Okay, if he's just coming into sector 2, we'll leave these guys to battle for a moment. You watch Sod's Law, they'll change position, but Hindle, I've no idea if he's going to end up being questioned about what happened to its hammer time at the first corner, because I've no idea what happened, but Hindle from there has just been absolutely on it. He will be hoping that he'll get no post-race penalties. So around the final corner he comes then to take victory for the Williams team on the Red Bull track at the Red Bull Ring. It'll be victory for Hindle and his teammate Hybrid Nuke coming around the final corner. Not feeling too well, and I tell you what, it's hammer time. I think it might be. He's all over the back of him, just out of shot. He was. It's hammer time right behind him for third place. Richie Davey hasn't managed to gain on from a racing GP. K-Slay takes fourth. Fifth place, Rickster. As we saw, he managed to sneak past Charlie. So it looks like a fifth place for Rickster. Potential sixth place for Charlie. Now, for any of the viewers, if you have any questions that you would like us to ask the drivers in the podium interview, feel free to send them on or post them on the YouTube chat. So Charlie did take sixth place from a racing GP 7th, Richie Davey 8th, Azamort for his first drive back in a while as a reserve driver, 9th place. Should be fairly pleased with that. So quick look at the podium then. And we do still have both Williams and the Mercedes on there. So if these guys have got any penalties, it's not affected their positions unless the Williams have switched over. But it does look like it's Hindle on the top step of the podium, taking victory here in Austria with his teammate second. And it's hammer time in third. Now in a moment we'll get to have a look at what the race result was on the timing screen, but please remember folks, it is only a provisional result. Hindle, he did have a penalty, a 5-second penalty. That usually hints at an illegal overtake. And who was the other one? Rickster with a 3-second penalty, and Dave the Hart with a 5-second penalty as well. So interesting one for those guys there. Interesting, not many of them with penalties. Let's have a quick look at the old race director. 4 stops for most of the drivers. And quite a few warnings on here. And let's see, it was exceeding track limits for Hindle then on lap 3. And for Rickster. And it was ignoring blue flag for Dave the Harp. Well, interesting one there. Well, as we wait a few moments, we'll get the drivers in for the podium interviews fairly soon. But a fascinating race there. Okay, the Williams have ran away with it a little bit, but with it starting wet, it definitely brought us plenty of interesting situations. Okay, to those players that have randomly joined, I do apologise, but I am going to kick you out. While we do the podium interviews. Now I did spot, Ray, that you've suggested them to me, so I shall have to invite them into the chat party because you buggered off to the pub halfway through that.
I know, I never buggered off to the pub. Somebody's getting technology, I tell you. What did I tell you earlier? Technology.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, it's a bit odd. I mean, time to change your passwords, I think. Okay, Hindle, Hybrid Nuke, and it's Hammer Time it was that was in third place. So we'll invite them in for the podium interviews. And as I was trying to mention, if you do have any questions for the drivers, feel free to comment on the YouTube chat. And if they're not too rude, we shall see if we can ask them to the drivers.
But with the ones that are coming, I don't think they can get mentioned.
Fair enough. Okay, it's Hammer Time has joined us. Hammer, if you can just quickly make sure that you have got your microphone in the chat party set to always allow for us, please. Otherwise, the viewers will have no one or nothing to hear. And the same goes for you, Hindle, and you, Hybrid Nuke. If you could both make sure that you have got your microphone set to allow to be shared. And for any of the drivers who may be now watching the podium interviews, if you do have any after race comments, you can send them to Ray on PSN and we will get to them in a few moments time. But over to the podium then. Hindle taking victory, Hybrid Nuke second place, it's Hammer Time in third. A very interesting race there for us as spectators. Now, Hindle, was you surprised to not be on the front row of the grid in qualifying, or did you do what you've done at previous races recently where it's not about qualifying, it's all about the race?
Well, I had a wet setup on, so when it was dry, I put an alright time in, but technically the last person on the track should have set the fastest lap because it was drying up and drying up. So I wasn't surprised that I wasn't on.
So, well, starting from second row of the grid, I'm guessing you had a decent view of what may have happened at turn one. We had no view of what happened, but on the exit of the corner, you're in first place and then ran away with it.
The first corner, me and I both got a good start. Kingsley got a good start as well, but on the exit turn one, it looks like he lost it on the traction. And from then on, me and I were able to pull away. And then on the third lap, I oversteered at the penultimate corner, and then because I think it was lap 3, it was absolutely chucking it down. Give me a 5-second penalty. I couldn't believe it. So I knew I had to absolutely go for it to get a 5-second gap to Hybrid because all week we've been practicing and barely a tenth between us.
And the undercut around here is huge. Now, for the first couple of stops, you pitted first and it worked brilliantly for you. It opened you up a nice big gap, all going nice and easy. That final stop, you're on the prime tyres, you seemed to go a few laps longer. And when you made your pit stop, was there a bit of panic when you were like, hang on a minute, he's only 4 seconds behind me now?
There was, and there wasn't, because I knew I had that lap extra on the tyres, and that tyre wear around is absolutely everything. So I think it was 2.9 seconds when we both went through the first sector, so I thought, right, I've got to get on it here. And every lap it increased by a few tenths, and then the last lap, his tyres absolutely died. So, yeah.
Yeah, I take it you're happy with that victory then?
Just because last week's result, I was not expecting that at all, so I was very disappointed with that. This race, I got the 5 seconds, and I will have a 3-second penalty for lap 1. Bloody missed it again, but luckily the gap was more than 8 seconds, so I'm happy with that.
Well, that'll all depend on whether someone goes looking through all of your footage to see if you did any ETL lifts. Because I did hear a rumour that you wasn't aware that you have to lift even if the game doesn't give you a warning. So it's a bit of advice to all of the drivers. If you do a cut, you do have to lift. It's the way to avoid the penalty. Okay, anyway, well done on taking victory, and I'm guessing Silverstone, it's a race you plan on winning.
I do, but again, the track limit is going to be hard on there.
It's not going to be an easy one, but that's what makes the good races great. Okay, well done, Hindle. Second place, Hybrid Nuke. Over to you. Feeling any better?
I tell you what, it picked up during the race. I felt a lot better. And as soon as the race ended, I started heaving again.
Not good. So I was going, bleh, bleh. It probably won't help then.
No.
No. Okay. Second place. Pleased with it?
Do you know what? The undercut is tremendous. So yeah, I am.
Yeah. The undercut is absolutely enormous around this track, and if you do use it to your advantage, it does work. As you saw with Hindle doing it to you, but then you doing it back later on. On the last lap, it's hammer time. All of a sudden, is right behind you. Were you comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it coming. I knew he was going to catch up, but there was no real challenge. So
you're all right with that one. Okay, throughout the race, there was a few difficult situations with blue flag cars. Was there anything that stood out as a really tricky part of that race?
I mean, it started off wet, and you're thinking, "Oh no, turn one," but that was clean. And then Hindle was telling me that Adam was lagging everywhere. So
yeah.
I was like, oh no, please, when I come up to him. But luckily, he moved relatively quickly. But no, it was pretty much from start to finish just to drive.
Fair enough. Well done. Second place for Hybrid Nuke, and we'll move on to It's Hammer Time, who took third place there. Now, Hammer, you said before the race, if it rains, you won't be looking forward to it. So what were you thinking when it started raining?
Not good, because I knew that the two wheelers were really good, because in practice they were impressive, but it was good that it started drying up at the end, because it got a good lap in. And then at the start, going into turn one, I think from a racing GP got a good start. I didn't see it, and then I turned in, and then we both crashed. So I need to have a look at the footage to see what happened.
Well, we didn't get to see what did happen at turn one, but we did see that you weren't out in the front anymore. So at that point then, you're down near the back of the grid. What's going through your mind at that point? Did it occur to you might still have a chance?
Yeah, all I just thought it was just to keep it on the track and just see what pace I have through the race.
Well, it worked for you. You weren't quite the first to go onto the option tyres. Richie Davey did that, but he didn't mean to. But you went on the option tyres early, but that did mean that you had a benefit and a downside to it. You got the undercut, which worked very, very well on each of your stops, but it did mean that for that final stop you had to use the prime tyre. Was that it's 10 laps, prime tyres will get me there, options might not, or was it always going to use the primes at the end?
I was going to use the options, but then my tyres started going off quite big, so I had to go on primes, because I knew if I went in options, I would have probably had a puncture I've had to pit again. So, and then if I pitted a couple of laps early in my first and second stints, then I think I would have probably gone in options.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing around this track. The undercut is so huge, you kind of need to use it, but the downside is you may end up doing a longer stint than you want, and then you have to contemplate the prime tyre. But anyway, very well done. Pole position and third place by the end of the race. Over to you, Ray. Do we have any questions from the viewers?
Not once that I could really say.
Okay, fair enough. We'll send one last... go on, carry on.
I've got information from Aunt 69. I was about to call Manette, but it's Aunt. That was tough, but I survived. I had an illegal overtake, but should have kept going.
Fair. Well,
He did well.
I mean, well done to Ant, actually. I mean, I do know that he has been struggling with the pit exit at this circuit, losing quite a few wings on the pit exit here, but he managed to cope with it quite well. Okay, final comment then over to Hindle. Looks like you may have extended your lead in the championship. Is it getting to that point yet where you're going to be saying to your teammate, just make sure no one finishes ahead of you and I'll finish ahead of you?
No, I think it's going to be me. Well, not going to be me and hybrid to the end, but going off the last few races, the people who have been close to us have been nowhere. That's in pace, track, incidents, but we've both got a nice lead over third and fourth now, so I'm still going to be with the let's both race, but not hurt each other, unlike Canada.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Silverstone next up then for the Front Row Racing World Series, and something to bear in mind is that in racing, anything can happen. Okay. Drivers, thank you for joining us for the podium interviews. You are now free to make your way off the podiums. Hand over your microphones. If you don't, we'll take them off you. And in a few moments' time, we'll get ready to see whether there is any comments from any of the drivers who didn't make it onto the podium.
Thank you. Well done, Hybrid. Well done, guys.
Cheers, buddy. Well done.
Okay, so as those drivers make their way from the podium interview area, we shall just make sure that we haven't got too many more randoms joining the lobby. I must admit, I don't know why Codemasters does this bit, that once your lobby host changes, it goes from an invite-only room to anyone can join. Okay, Ray, over to you. Any comments from the rest of the drivers that we can announce on the broadcast?
Just GP feels that he get hit into turn one.
Oh, interesting. Well, I'm sure that'll get looked at. I mean, throughout most, there were that many collisions, which is good to see. I mean, as far as racing goes, yeah, we want to see overtakes and we want to see drivers attacking and defending. But what none of us really want to see is too many collisions. Although, let's face it, we all love to see a good crash. Okay. Next up then on the Front Row Racing YouTube channel will be tomorrow night at 7:30pm the FRRI Days Cup. I think it's for round 9 at Silverstone. It could be very, very interesting. And for anyone that's been watching and is interested in joining Front Row Racing on our F1 leagues, the FRRI Days Cup is the way into it. It's our feeder series into our F1 leagues. Drive clean and fair in there. You can get onto the reserve driver list. And then like it's Hammer Time or Azamort today, if a reserve driver is needed, they can be called upon. Also, quick notification for you. YouTube, I'm not sure exactly what they have done, but I noticed last night on our own YouTube channel, it was almost as if all of our videos had disappeared from the main page. If I was on my own YouTube account and I searched Front Row Racing, it was showing that there were no videos. Did a little bit of research earlier today, and it's not a problem with our YouTube channel. It's something that a lot of people have been experiencing on YouTube since yesterday. And I think YouTube have changed something on people's profiles. So when you go onto it now, you have to pick a couple of settings to basically bring everything back. I played about with ours earlier on, so if you go and look at the Front Row Racing YouTube channel, it may show that there's only one recent upload, but if you actually click on videos or playlists, you will find all of the previous videos. They are all still there. So for anyone that's viewing that has this same problem on YouTube, you will need to, when you go on YouTube on a computer, click on my channel and it'll pop up the screen and it'll say like no content or a list of stuff you haven't got. Just above it to the right hand side is a cog, a settings cog. If you click on that, it'll pop up a box, and from what I read, there's 3 slider bars. Move them all so they're blue, click save, it brings everything back. But bear in mind, folks, if you do it and it ruins your YouTube channel, don't blame me. Anyway, that's it for for us this evening, as I mentioned about tomorrow night on the Front Row Racing YouTube channel. And then tomorrow night at 9 o'clock will be the PCF Project Cars Fridays League for round 9, I think it is, at Willow Springs. Be a very interesting one, that. Okay.
Nice track.
Well, you think it's a nice one. I hate the place. Right, anyway, Ray, it's time for us to call it a night. So, let's call it a night.
Bye.
Thank you very much for watching. We've been Front Row Racing, and we'll see you all again soon.